Uh-huh. I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you, you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box. And you cannot compare them at all, so don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean Dyer, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Yeah. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table. Woo. Fantasy round table, come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Roundtable Podcast. It is Friday, October 22nd, and we are here to recap the Thursday night football game between the Browns and the Broncos, and then Matt and myself will preview the rest of the Week 7 slate, probably the least amount of games in a week this season, I think.
Yeah, because, of course, it's Bipocalypse week, and I'm coming to you live from John Oliver's Blank Void. Apparently, as my house still in various states of update.
Soon, though, right? Soon. It's got to be. Hey, you know what? Just very reminiscent of the Broncos season right now, too, right? Just in all kinds of, rebuilding, it seems like, unfortunately.
We were 3-0 when I started the project and 0-4 since, so maybe it's me.
Maybe it's me. Maybe you're about to get a call from Vic Fangio and the Broncos front office. No, it was insane just talking about the buys because there's 6 teams on bye this week, and then there's only 2 next week. Like, they couldn't have split it up just a little bit more.
It's not just 6 teams. It's like the 6 teams they chose: the Chargers, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Vikings, Jaguars. Maybe I give you, but 5 of those teams have quite a few fantasy assets.
I need James Robinson badly in a couple leagues this week, so at least he's gone, But yeah, it's it's going to be a very rough week for a lot of people.
We had a fun game in the Music City Drive-In Sports Writer chat where they were making us list the worst player we had to start because many of us are in many teams that have between buys and injuries.
Right.
I actually, in a Superflex league where I had no other options, started Drew Lock last night on the off chance that, for a while it looked like that was going to be a genius move. I thought he was coming in the second half. And then in another Superflex, I am actually playing Davis Mills.
I will, so not a Superflex, but a 16-team full IDP league. We start 2 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 3 cornerbacks, or defensive backs, doesn't matter. And again, 16 teams, mind you. And by the way, my record in this league, I'm pretty sure I am 2-4 with 1,500 points scored. That's how my team. Yeah, it's very frustrating seeing that. And what makes it worse is obviously 2-4, especially with the extra week. Maybe you don't feel like your season's over just yet. You can bounce back and probably win. My team ended up where'd my roster go? There we go. And I know everybody just loves when we complain about our rosters here, but my quarterbacks in this league, again, it's a dynasty league, 16-teamer, Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield. You'd feel really great about that most weeks, except for the fact that Justin Herbert's on a bye. And then, of course, Baker got ruled out last night. I bid $100 of my 150 fab to get Case Keenum. Someone bid their entire fab to get Case Keenum. So I didn't have a quarterback. So I started Baker Mayfield and running backs. Zeke Elliott, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Swift. Well, Zeke's out on bye. Kareem Hunt's on the IR, so I'm starting and Tony Pollard. I'm starting DeAndre Swift and Eno Benjamin as my running backs. That's how my team's shaping up.
Well,
right now, so. Not great. Not great, Bob. Not great.
The rough thing, I don't think people are upset when we talk about it in this instance because this is commiseration time. The really rough thing between the injuries and the buys, we play Dynasty League where you're not just feeling good about willy-nilly dropping folks either.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just, I got to fill and make a lineup, so I'm just going to drop this guy. I'm sure I'll patch over him. No, this could have huge long-term consequences.
Yeah.
So some of them that's where I rolled Drew Lock last night. It was like, I'm not dropping, there isn't anybody to pick up, but I'm also not just going to drop one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean,
on the off chance I land Keenum for a week.
It's not even just that league. There's another one I can't remember. I had to do the same thing. Like, it's a super flex league, and I had I can't remember who. Oh, Russell Wilson was one of my quarterbacks. So there's only so much I can do. So it's just kind of one of those things.
In many leagues.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, so in this one though, Gino was already rostered. It was one of those where it's like 36-man rosters. So like practically everybody is already rostered. So it's just one of those things where, like you said, it's either I overpay because everybody knows now I need a quarterback for a couple weeks, or you just kind of ride it out and deal with it. And I'm just riding out and deal with it. It sucks because, like I just said, 1,500 points. I think it's 1,524. I'm the highest scoring league in that by 400 points. The highest scoring team, and I'm 2-4. Like, it's so frustrating.
I have done this in most of my dynasty leagues, and I think it's a valid suggestion that somebody made a couple of years ago that I in one of my leagues, I can't remember. We changed our bylaws so the top, most of my leagues we have 6 playoff teams. Top 5 teams make it in based on record. 6th team or the last playoff team gets in on most points for. And you would think, well, that probably won't make a difference. In each of the years that we've done, in a couple of leagues I've done in the last 2 years, the last team in has changed because of that most points scored. Because that's how you account for an unbalanced schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, so that has helped me and hurt me, actually, in a couple of leagues last year, because I'm in a couple of them where I was the 6th seed, but, like, I wasn't the highest scoring by, like, 200-something points, so I got bumped in another one where I was. The one thing with this one, that will never happen, and I love this league, so it's not one that I'd, like, complain about, make a big deal. I hate it because, I'll be honest, so it's, like, I keep feeling like I'm reiterating, this is a 16-team league. He has it split up with conferences of 4. Mm-hmm. And so each winner of the conference gets in, and then they have the 2 wild card teams. He has it set up like a real NFL league. And what's frustrating about this one though is last year I was the highest scoring team, and I missed out making the playoffs because of the same thing. Like our division, we have 3 of the highest scoring 16 teams in our one division. Like 3 of our teams have all scored over 1,000. A bunch of other people are like right in the 900 range. And so we have 3 of the highest scoring teams. So we beat up on each other, and because of that, only 2 of us at best can make the playoffs, and 3rd gets left out. Last year, that was me. I missed out by 1 game. And so, yeah, it's frustrating because I've got such a good team, but it's getting older and older. Like Zeke's probably only got 1 or 2 more years. And so it's one of those things where it's like, man, I don't know what to do. So yeah,
he found the fountain of youth this year, though.
That is true. I'm glad I was all in on him on a couple redrafts leagues. So let's, before we jump in and recap the Browns-Broncos game, we want to remind you guys that we are proud to be a part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. You can find them at PigskinPodNet on Twitter, or you can search the hashtag TPPN, where everything, all of us, hashtag to put our shows up there. You can search that and find all of our shows. We are proud to be a part of that network. So let's talk Browns-Broncos. We talked a lot about it on Wednesday's show. We both said we thought it might be a little bit of a low-scoring game with everything going on. We had just kind of found out that Baker likely was going to be out. Case Keenum gets the start. I'll be honest. Now, I was not saying not to pick up Ernest Johnson, but I said I thought he may get you like 10 to 12 points. Obviously, kid goes out there and has an amazing game, and good for him. Let's start on your Broncos side here. What's next for them? It was a weird game, and I'm kind of surprised they left Bridgewater out there as long as they did. I don't think it was anything based on like him playing bad. It's just he was so beat up. You could see, and they were talking about a lot on the broadcast, like he couldn't finish some of his throws with how bad and how messed up his leg and ankle were. What do they do next moving forward, and can they bounce back?
Yeah, is great. On they had to start the season. Hopefully some
Oh, I think we lost Matt there.
pieces back. That defense doesn't look great. You mentioned we thought. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. You kind of dipped out there for a second, but we've got you now.
Hopefully they can get some people back, but it doesn't look.
Yeah, so they it was definitely a rough game. Obviously, losing Von Miller there at the end of that game was not helpful as well. I know they talked about his knee thing during the broadcast. When I saw stuff came out afterwards that it might be an ankle, so I guess we'll see.
And
if
they
he
said
comes
it's
back.
minor
Okay, well,
ankle injury. But they really, if Vaughn can't play in their next game, all 4 of their starting linebackers to start the season will be gone.
Jeez. I mean, I think it's fair to say that the Broncos are likely in for a rough rest of the season anyways. I mean, it's just what I think. I guess I'll just ask you, because we talked a lot about this in the off season. You know, I know you weren't the biggest fan of Teddy, neither was I, and we talked about this is probably Locke's final year to prove something. I think clearly with them not willing to put Locke in at all in that game yesterday showed that they just do not believe in him. So do you think, regardless, even if Teddy turns this around and gets the Broncos into the playoffs, is this kind of the end for both of these quarterbacks in Denver? Are they going quarterback in the draft next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at a rebuild in a lot of ways. I'd imagine the coaching staff gets turned over as well.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know if I can't remember if you tweeted it out, but I know you said it in our group chat that you wouldn't let Fangio back on the plane. And
I actually said I would have dropped him in Lake Superior. But
okay, sorry, I couldn't remember which one it was. Do you think he survives the whole season?
Yeah, probably. Somebody, one of their beat reporters, brought up that you don't fire a coach midseason unless you have a good idea of who you'd replace him with, and Denver probably doesn't.
Yeah,
because Shermer might be a bigger problem. I think there was some speculation. What might be asked is that both Fangio and Shermer give up play calling duty. That we see what Ed Donatel can do on defense. We see what Mike Shula can do calling offensive plays. He's done that in the past, and he's done a decent job. And, maybe let them go back. I don't think Fangio is a particularly good game manager, so maybe not having to focus on defense will help. I don't know. It feels like I was optimistic they'd be 9-8, not great, but not terrible. But you look at their schedule, and I don't see a lot of things that make me feel like they're clear-cut wins. The AFC West is no joke.
Yeah. And I mean, that really leads us to the Browns as well. And, they obviously get the good win yesterday. It was a tough win, but they were able to kind of battle through mostly because of Ernest Johnson and that offensive line. They were incredible in that game. Baker was out. Chubb looks like he'll be back hopefully this next coming week by the Steelers, but they did mention he'll be back soon. What are you kind of doing with this Browns offense? I mean, my biggest fear with Baker, I think he wants to go out there because this is his chance to get that extension. But they were talking a lot about on the broadcast, and a lot of the stuff I was listening to this morning and yesterday morning was he's got to let that fracture heal in his shoulder. Hey, if that's what they're doing, it's not going to be ready by next week, probably the week after. So you're probably looking at 3 or 4 weeks with Baker out. You mentioned the Broncos schedule. The Browns schedule isn't easy either. And that was kind of one of my hesitations on them winning in the division and ended up having a really good year. I know I had them with at least 5, if not 6 losses. And that's just because their schedule is tough. I mean, they get the Steelers this week. Not this week. I'm sorry. They played this week, next week. And then if I could get my thing to work here, then it's not working. So
yeah, and well, that was part of my feeling is you can probably win against the Steelers with Case Keenum. You could probably win. It's the back half of November into December where you start getting teams.
Well, so yeah, I mean, even right now, I don't. So, like Steelers, maybe you can win that game with Case Keenum, especially if Chubb is back. with as good as Ernest Johnson looked yesterday. Maybe you can rely on the run there. Bengals, I think, is a winnable game. Then you get the Patriots. And I know the Patriots offense hasn't been playing that good. That defense has been okay. They could probably cause troubles for Case Keenum. Lions is probably a win. But then that's when you get the long stretch of really tough games. You get the Ravens, Sunday night, bye week, Ravens again, Raiders, Packers, Steelers, Bengals. That's how you finish out the season. One thing I'll say about those Bengals games, too, is they keep playing the way that they're playing, they're going to be contending for a playoff spot as well. So it's not, not that I think they'd roll over anyways, but I think those are going to be tough games for them. So if Baker's not back before the bye week, I mean, you're talking about, what is that? This is week 7 right here. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They get their bye week in week 13. And you're talking about maybe Baker comes back right around. I don't know if the Browns have a chance to make it some playoffs then.
That's right. If you think he can play through the injury, you use the 10 days you have off now, and maybe you try to roll the dice against the Steelers and see where you're at heading into the beginning of November. Give him at least a couple of week chunk of time to see if he can get back healthy. Getting Chubb back will help. Their offense looked pretty good. Their defense did pretty well. And again, the Steelers have struggled a little bit offensively too. So that might be one where you can kind of hammer it out in the trenches, slug out a victory. Case Keenum may not be in trouble, but he wasn't killing anyone yesterday. He was very conservative and careful with the ball, and he was very good at distributing, guiding the offense. Again, that's why you brought him in as a backup, is for these situations. I think it would behoove them long-term to give him at least one more start.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. So I'm thinking if you think Baker can come back soon, I think you let Keenum play against the Steelers and then try and look at maybe that Bengals or Patriots game for Baker's first game back. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't want Baker playing against the Steelers anyways. With TJ Watt and those guys coming after him, even though the offensive line, they got Wills back last week, which was big. Once they're able to get Conklin back, that's going to solidify the other side of that offensive line. But I think you don't want Baker to take those hits, especially against the Steelers. So maybe give him one more week, but we'll see. We haven't heard anything else from him. I still think they've got a shot to make the playoffs, but definitely has not been quite the year or the offense that at least I was expecting from the Browns. Even though I didn't have them, with a really great record, they've struggled a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all too low on the Bengals. Well, we're about to go into week 7, which, as we've mentioned, I don't know if you've heard, is the Bipocalypse. But if you want the tools that help Bob Harris reach the Fantasy Football Hall of Fame, head over to Football Diehards right now and get the Flash Update Pro, a full suite of tools to make you a better fantasy manager. Rankings, configurable cheat sheets, mock drafts, consistency tools, target distribution, snap counts, and more. Use code Roundtable for an additional 15% off the already low price of $24.
And I should mention, we just kind of skipped over Ernest Johnson there. That was a massive game for him.
Could be quite a 1-2 punch with Chubb, too, going up against the Steelers, where you can just keep hammering them and wearing them down.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I could honestly see him maybe not getting as much work as Kareem Hunt, but a decent amount of Kareem Hunt's workload, at least until Kareem Hunt comes back. I mean, I doubt he's ever going to listen to this, but if he ever does, congratulations, because hearing his story and how he persevered, and then to come out there and get over 150 yards, total yards, and 100 yards rushing in his very first start, that's just awesome for him. And it was fun to watch him play last night. I'm glad that he had such a great game. All right, so let's jump into the previews here, and we're going to start with the 2-4 Washington football team at the 5-1 Green Bay Packers. Matt, can Taylor Heinicke get back on track here against the Packers?
He has not looked good the past 2 games. He's really struggled kind of in relief. He looked pretty decent when he first came in starting. I likened him on Monday to a little bit of how I felt about Kyle Allen, a guy who came in pretty hot when he came in for Cam Newton, but just there's a reason he's a backup instead of a starter, and that's probably the case for Heinicke. Washington's defense has not helped them at all, and I don't think they're going to be helped going up against Aaron Rodgers, which will probably put more pressure on this offense, facing a pretty decent Green Bay defense, one that's expected to have Jair Alexander back. I think it's another tough day for Heineke and probably another loss for Washington.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially in super flex leagues with let's just say this one time, so I have to keep repeating this. We've talked about it as by apocalypse. You're likely starting a lot of these players, even if they're going to have bad games, because you don't have any other options. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think a big day is coming for him. Looks like is Antonio Gibson ruled out for sure? I thought last I heard that he's likely not going to play.
Let me check. The last I saw is he was just questionable.
So,
but
I mean, if
I wouldn't be surprised. They have been ruling people out right and left again today. That's why I would encourage you to be. You're going to have to watch today and tomorrow, because not only do we have all these teams out, but they have just been taking people out right and left. Yeah. So I will look it up while you're going.
So while Matt's looking that up, we'll discuss once he finds that answer. I mean, Terry McLaurin, I think, can still probably have a good day because, again, he's one of those guys where he just needs the big play. But outside of him, Ricky Seals-Jones is the guy that I'm starting here. I think he can have still a good day without Heineke. But outside of those two, if Gibson is out, I don't know that I trust McKissick to really have a big game. So I think I'm just leaning on those two guys for the Washington football team.
Gibson is still questionable. It says he's confident he's going to play.
Well, that's good. Hopefully he's able. I mean, obviously with an injury like that, it's kind of you have to play him because he's so good, but I think you do have to temper expectations.
But it's probably going to be even more, we expect them to be behind. It seems when they're trying to go up tempo, they were already trending toward J.D. McKissick anyway. Yeah. Probably means we're going to get a heavier dose of him.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hope for a touchdown from Antonio Gibson. On the Packers side, what should we expect from Devontae Adams and Rodgers against a porous secondary?
Some people I saw kind of complaining, I guess, that he didn't have a huge game last week. And he caught 8 balls for 97 yards. I mean, I guess that just shows you what kind of standard Adams has set. I would expect him to get back into the end zone in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. We talked a lot about that back in week 1, right? Because I think he had almost similar stats to this. Maybe not the 8 catches, but it was like 90 yards. And everybody was like, oh, my God, did you see what happened to Devontae Adams? Like, how crazy is it that he's just that good that 8 catches for 90-something yards is a bad day at the office?
Well,
that's.
I'm pretty sure they clocked whoever they were playing was.
No, that was when they got destroyed by New Orleans.
No, I mean last week.
Oh yeah, they
complaining
did.
That he's not going off. I'm like, well, they clocked the team they were playing, so I don't.
But yeah, I'm with you. I think he bounces back. I'm gonna be a little bold here. I think like 5-6 catches and 100+ yards by halftime, and then I think he gets in the end zone here too. I think Devontae Adams in for a big game. I'm taking the Packers to beat Washington.
100% on the Packers.
This should be a high-scoring game here. The 3-3 Kansas, still so weird to say 3-3. The 3-3 Kansas City Chiefs at the 4-2 Tennessee Titans. Matt, can the Chiefs defense slow down Derrick Henry?
I don't think their defense can. The only thing that potentially can is if the Chiefs can go out and sprint out and put up a bunch of touchdowns early and put Tennessee in a position where they have to lean more on their passing game than their running game. A.J. Brown's tracking to play, but he has talked about he's still kind of suffering that food poisoning, whatever it was. The Chiefs' defense is not very good. We saw a better Buffalo defense get clocked by Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's ended up playing at an otherworldly level. I think the best chance for a team is to take him out of the game, and the Chiefs are one of the rare teams that have the offense that could potentially do that.
Yeah, the one thing I'll be curious to see is if they don't go up, or even if they get up a decent amount of it. We've seen the Titans down 20 will still run Derrick Henry, and I think he's clearly the best part of their offense. I did see Julio has come out, said that he's feeling great, so that's good to hopefully see him fully healthy and back out there. He's been kind of questioned even by his head coach, so we'll see how that works out for them, but I don't think anybody can slow him down. I mean, we talked about it last week. I thought the best chance of that was the Bills, and he got 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards against them, right, or close to 100 yards. So
I thought it was more than 100 yards.
It may have been. I don't remember. All I remember saying he's like, yeah, he's probably gonna get like 50 or 60 yards, maybe a touchdown.
Well, he had 78 yards on just that one touchdown alone.
Oh yeah, that's right. So yeah, he definitely went over 100. Yeah, so I mean, it's. We talked about it on the recap. He's incredible, and you're starting him, and I do think that he can help keep this game close with the Chiefs here. What would it mean if the Titans were to get this win?
Yeah, and Derrick Henry had 143 yards in that win. He's otherworldly. Tennessee is a team that we've had some questions about. They had that kind of opening week loss that was a little bit stunning. They had a loss to the Jets. It seemed like they were kind of, tracking to win their division, which is weaker, but we're going to be lower down on the AFC seeding. And then they come out and put up a big home win against the Bills. If they beat the Chiefs, they then move to 5-2. And depending on what happens in Baltimore, could either be tied for the best record in the AFC or the second best record in the AFC, with 2 quality wins against teams that we think could end up being division winners. That puts them in a great position for seeding. And all of a sudden you're thinking about Tennessee a little bit differently, especially since they won't really face a challenge. The Colts are playing a little bit better, but they still have a long road to go. Texans and Jaguars look nowhere close to being competitive for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if they can, it would be huge. But I wouldn't read too much into it just because of how bad Kansas City's been this year. I mean, it'd be a great win. Great to get a win up on Kansas City and a conference rival that can matter later in seeding, and then moving to 5-2 as well. But I don't know that it'd be as big as if, say, this was a couple years ago with Kansas City really kind of at their height. I can't. I think Kansas City.
I'm taking the Chiefs, yeah.
Okay. Really quick, because I don't want to jump back and forth between things. Something literally just came out on Baker Mayfield because we were talking about the injury, so I'll just reference it. Baker Mayfield will need 4 to 6 months to recover from his left shoulder surgery. If it doesn't get worse, surgeons tell Cleveland.com, sources say current fracture is non-displaced. That part can heal on its own. I don't know if that means he's going to be out 4 to 6 months or if they're saying it's going to take 4 to 6 months to heal completely. We know he was playing with the injury beforehand. The news kind of came, he had the sling on yesterday that he needs the fracture to heal. So it doesn't really say if they're just going to let him play after the fracture heals or if he's going to be out 4 to 6 months. But that's obviously not
that would
great
be season
news.
ending.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I assume that because he said he can play through it anyways, they're going to wait for the fracture heal because they're not putting him on IR or anything, least that I've seen. But that literally just came out as we were talking. So
brutal.
Whew, I thought I'd address that. That's really that's a big blow. All right, so the Atlanta Falcons, 2-3 Atlanta Falcons at the 1-5 Miami Dolphins. Calvin Ridley is back. Is this finally the week he takes off? And if he does, can Kyle Pitts go with him?
Yeah, the Dolphins secondary hasn't been as great as, advertised. Probably not alone there among other teams. Ridley obviously missed their last game, dealing with some personal stuff. Both Xavier Howard, who has a shoulder and groin injury, and Byron Jones, who has an Achilles and groin injury. I don't know what happened to those guys, but those are some odd injuries, are both listed as questionable. Both of them were scratched on game day last week, so that's something to watch out for. Pitts had his big coming out party in that London game. I think Calvin Ridley coming back, they're going to try to feature and feed him. This is a winnable game for them. He was a player that I liked coming into the season. I thought he had a chance to be the wide receiver one. We have seen decent target volume, but we haven't seen that kind of production. I'm hoping this is the week. I took a chance. I think you did too. We both had him top 5 in our rankings.
Yep.
I'm pushing my chips in. If he gets the guy, both those corners dealing with groin injuries, I don't know about you, but that makes me think that would affect their running. Byron Jones dealing with an Achilles and a groin makes me think that he probably has some regrets about trying to play. This could be a chance to really get something going. In Miami, can push the ball too. We saw last week kind of getting into an up-tempo track meet. I'm hoping if Marvin Jones can do that, please God, let Calvin Ridley do it.
Yeah, I'll just if not this week, when we both had him. I think we both had him top 3. I know I had him in my top 3. I think you did as well, right? So I mean, we're all 4. In. Okay, so top 5.
I couldn't move Hill. I couldn't move him past Hill, Cup, or Devontae Adams the way they're playing.
Okay, maybe I had him at 4 too. I can't remember now, but
I
know I had him
Cup down at 4 because you thought Woods.
Okay,
would be more
that's right.
involved.
Okay, so yeah, I just if not now, when. This is the perfect matchup for him. I think both bad defenses, both offenses, I agree, can get going. I mean, there's all the rumors right now around Tua possibly being traded, so that does worry me a little bit. Does that affect him at all or his mindset? But for the Atlanta side of things, I mean, I think Ridley can get going. I really want to see what Pitts does after this because obviously we saw the breakout game last week, or 2 weeks ago because they had the bye last week. Can that trend continue? I hope so. As I mean, I've been all in on Kyle Pitts having an amazing season here. What can the Dolphins do to get a win here against Atlanta?
Yeah, on the flip side, the Dolphins need to look more like the 2020 Dolphins. They're one of the few people/teams in the entire world that wish it was still 2020 because their defense has not looked like it did last year. Brian Flores needs to light a fire under them, and Tua looked good, I thought, coming back last week. Their running game and their player rotation is ridiculous. You know, as much as I like Myles Gaskin's talent and as crappy of a situation as this week is, I was advocating him as a sit because his usage has been horridly inconsistent. So that's Miami needs a little better defense and probably some consistency on offense.
Before we'll answer that question in just a second, Matt. Let's finish up this game really quick. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Again, my biggest thing is what can Tua, he played decently last week. Can he continue doing that? And then how does everything with the trade rumors and everything affect him? Because I think that's going to be big for his mindset. He's a guy who at Alabama was the big kid on the block. He played really good. He was supposedly going to be this top-end prospect, and we haven't quite seen that play out, but I don't know how much of that is him.
Did you hear what came out this week, though? Apparently he admitted that he didn't know the playbook last year.
I did not know that. I did not see that news.
I felt like that was a little bit of a brutal thing.
Yeah.
In terms,
I'm going to take Atlanta to win.
I'm going to take Miami.
All right, so we got a question here. Would you guys start Sterling Shepard or Khalil Herbert at flex? Giants get Carolina, Bears versus Tampa. He also said that he could snag Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore is not really in the running for me just because of Ertz coming in there. I want to see how that works with them.
Yeah, I get that, but I probably would go try to grab Rondale Moore. Joe Judge implied that Sterling Shepard is going to be a game-time decision. He's got a hamstring injury. He got downgraded on Thursday, which is never good. And honestly, the Khalil Herbert, I know Damian Williams is out again, but the Tampa Bay, one thing they've been able to do is snap down on the run. I would rather take my chances probably with Rondale Moore getting one big play than either of those two, but I guess I would lean Herbert if I had to stay there because I'm not sure Shepard stays in the whole game.
He said he could also throw in Rashad Bateman, if that matters.
I would probably still take a chance on Moore.
I'm trying to see. I was trying to pull up my rankings right now, so I still have – I have Bateman ahead of Rondale right now, so – I would go Herbert, and maybe I'll be honest. Maybe I'm being, what is not unobjective. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing through Khalil Herbert glasses. So maybe my choice here might be a little bit biased. I know that the Buccaneers have been good against the run, but I think what he can do in the passing game as well, he's gonna get the workload. They said even today that with his performance last week, they're moving him more up on the roster and getting him more touches. So I don't think Herbert's going away anytime soon. Is Williams out again? I didn't see that he was going to be out for sure.
I just saw it because I was going to start him somewhere, but Damian Williams got the O.
With him out again, I think I'm going Herbert. I'm taking the shot that if they even get down into the red zone, I think he can score because he can score running the ball and passing as well. He can get a receiving touchdown. So Moore, I think, has probably more upside, so I get why playing him. I love Bateman. I'm not starting Bateman until I can see it, if that makes sense, Matt. I just don't I want to see how it works because Hollywood Brown has been a lot better than I think a lot of people. I had him as my fantasy MVP this year, but he's been a lot better than I think people expected. Andrews has really bounced back, so I want to see how Bateman fits into that offense. So I'm going Herbert. That's who I'm taking. All right, let's go to the 1-4 New York.
Damian Williams got COVIDed out. says Williams is unvaccinated, meaning he won't be able to clear the NFL's COVID-19 protocols until Saturday at the earliest. He's listed as out.
Okay, so so he's out this week, and then maybe he'll be back next week. So, still, which is, hey, look, I need it. I got Herbert's playing for Zeke for me this week because I'm down a lot of running backs because of injuries and everything else. So I'm hoping for it. The 1-4 New York Jets at the 2-4 New England Patriots coming off a bye week. Do the Jets even stand a chance this week?
I mean, they do stand a chance. We've seen this Patriots defense the last few weeks be incredible against difficult competition and then kind of come out a little bit soft against, they let Davis Mills go for 3 touchdowns and almost beat them with Houston. So you could see possibly a scenario like that, but I think it's going to be a tough draw. The Patriots handled them in their first meeting, and I don't see any reason. They, to me, are a better team right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm really interested to see if Michael Carter gets more run. We've seen leading into the bye week, he was getting a little bit more carries. I want to see if he finally is able to take over as that running back. Because in my opinion, he's looked the best running the ball for the Jets the past couple weeks. So I want to see, hopefully, with the bye week, they're able to implement him in a little bit more. For the New England Patriots, what are you expecting from the Patriots offense? I mean, they played fairly good against this Dallas Cowboys team last week.
Yeah, and they really leaned on their running backs. Damian Harris looked good. I know you had him, I believe, top 12. I have him in my top 15. I think he's in for a good day. They've developed pretty good chemistry with Hunter Henry. He seems like the top receiving choice. After that, Jacoby Myers has had some deceptively nice games where some big plays have just been called back or just narrowly missed for him. So I like how Mac Jones is developing with the offense. Still, I think they have continued to take a conservative approach. I don't expect this to be a high-flying game.
Yeah, I'm with you. What we talked a little bit about this on Monday's show, and I'm very interested to see moving forward. He was in my top 12 this week when we talked rankings. Damian Harris, can he follow up on what was a big week last week, especially with how good Ramondre Stevenson looked as well? Again, this is one of those things where I think you can start both of those guys because of how bad the running back position looks right now. Can both those guys come through for you? I hope Jacoby Myers can get into the end zone this week. I mean, dude's been balling. It just hasn't been able to get in. Even though the Jets secondary is very good, I feel like this is his chance to kind of get in the end zone and get that score. I'm taking the Patriots to win this game.
I am also taking the Patriots.
All right, the 3-3 Carolina Panthers at the 1-5 New York Giants. Can Sam Darnold get back on track? Started 3-0 and is now 0-3 in his last 3 games.
Yeah, and he's been turning the ball over a lot. I think he's really got to get that under control. He had great chemistry with DJ Moore early in the season. Even in that Dallas game was their first of those 3 losses, they had good chemistry, but he's fallen off a little bit the last 2 weeks, and he's probably get him involved more. I know Matt Rule talked about this week putting a little bit of the pressure back on him and Judge, saying that their run pass balance hasn't been there. It shouldn't be quite as stiff a test with the Giants. Hopefully they can get back there. I thought Chuba Hubbard has looked good. Royce Freeman is a sturdy journeyman back that they could mix in there. I think that will help Sam Darnold some, but he's really just got to clean up mistakes.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Again, I think a lot of it is CMC. They really seem to be built around that. We've talked a lot about that really since he's gone down, this offense has changed. I'd like to see DJ Moore have a bounce back week. He's kind of struggled these past 2 weeks, and I do think that Hubbard could probably get a lot of run here because the Giants, I mean, they made their name last year on their defense, and then now this year the team is just bad overall. So I think a lot of the Panthers could be in for some pretty big games this week. For the Giants, Barkley, Galladay, and Kadarius Toney are all out. I mean, are we expecting anything here from the Giants? Booker, probably because of how bad running back position is.
No, and their line is still beat up too. Booker, I think, is somebody you're probably playing. He returned running back 2 value last week. I see no reason why he couldn't potentially do that again. Sterling Shepard, you're going to have to watch. Maybe it's a bigger game for Darius Slayton, but Daniel Jones has been beaten up, harassed, missing weapons, and he has been prone to turning the ball over too, which isn't great against a Carolina defense that has been pretty solid and pretty opportunistic, especially against weaker opponents.
Yeah, I mean, if Shepard doesn't play, I think the only player I'm playing is Booker. That's it. I mean, Daniel Jones probably gets it for you because of his rushing ability. I think he'll be able to do a little bit here. We've seen that the Panthers defense may be a little bit of frauds compared to what we saw earlier in the season. We talked, were they really that good, or was it the schedule?
Just hope Gilmore doesn't come off PUP because he started practicing again.
That is true. Well, I mean, I don't know that Daniel Jones is going to be throwing it to anybody if Shepard's out. I mean, was Slayton back? Slayton's got to be
Slayton
back.
is slated to be in there. Yeah, so Darius Slayton would probably be the only. I think they have John Ross.
Yeah,
but to me, that gives him like the same kind. I don't know if that's the greatest options to just sit back there and bomb it. Slayton has his own hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable, but less questionable. And also, John Ross has a hamstring injury listed as questionable. Andrew Thomas was put on injured reserve, their offensive tackle. So, not a great time to be a Giants. No. Evan Ingram also questionable, not a hamstring. Jeez. He injured his calf. So I guess it's like Kyle Rudolph and
Daniel Jones. That's it. That's all they're rolling out there on offense.
And Devontae Booker.
When you said they've got John Ross and Darius Slayton, that gave me shades of the 2019 Browns offense with Freddie Kitchens, where he just told Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry to run those just like 9 routes. Just run, and Baker's crappy offensive line won't protect him long enough to throw it to you anyway.
It worked for Forrest Gump.
That's true. It did. Probably the only person it's worked for. I am taking the Panthers to bounce back and get the win here.
Yes, Panthers for me.
Probably the most interesting early window game for me.
Let's face it, it's the only good game this week.
Well, I was trying to be nice. I was going to say in a window of not great games, this is the one that's going to stand out. The 4-2 Cincinnati Bengals at the 5-1 Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals have started strong, but do they have what it takes to beat Baltimore?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this being the formula for a lot of these upstart teams. You need to hit some good plays on offense, keep doing what you were doing. Mixon's looked great. Jamar Chase has had great chemistry with Joe Burrow. They need to be able to keep that going. That was something the Chargers weren't able to keep going against this defense. And on defense, they need to be opportunistic. They're going to have to get a couple of big turnovers and a couple of big plays because that's how you keep in it. I don't think there's any way to dominate Baltimore or to keep them from scoring at least in the mid to high 20s. They're probably a 30-point team, so you probably need to get on top of them and hope to make a couple of big timely plays.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this offense because I think they can do what Las Vegas did back in week 1 and challenge Baltimore. And if that's the case, they really do have a chance to win this game, especially because of how good Mixon has looked. They've got the weapons on the outside to challenge the secondary. The big thing is going to be, I agree with you, is the defense. Can they get those couple crucial stops against that Baltimore offense or even get some turnovers and give Joe Burrow in this offense the ball a couple extra times? Burrow is going to have to play a really good game here. We've seen in these tighter games, he's made a couple really bad decisions, made some bad interceptions. He's not going to be able to do that here because I do think, especially with the way Baltimore's playing too, I don't know that they're going to let the Bengals off the hook. If Burrow throws a couple interceptions, I think Lamar is going to cash in. What can Lamar and this pass offense do against the Bengals? They've been a very good defense this year, really good against the run and pretty good against the pass as well.
Yeah, the Bengals' strength, though, on defense has been more against the run, and Baltimore in years past was basically a run team with an occasional pass. They have seemingly flipped the script, and much to the credit of John Harbaugh, the staff, and what Lamar Jackson has been able to do. Running game isn't bad for them, but isn't their strength or their only option. I'm pretty bullish on seeing what Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews can do here. They got Rashad Bateman back, and he looked decent. Looks like they'll probably be without Watkins, but Lamar Jackson has shown a couple of times already this season, if you have to win with him throwing it, he can get it done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Last year, and I know a lot of people take this as a knock. I'm not knocking Lamar because I do think he's a good passer, but he struggled in that last year. He's proving he can beat you from the pocket or with his legs. If Baltimore is able to slow them down, I have no doubt that Lamar is going to be able to beat him through the air. So I do think this is going to be a really good game. We talked a little bit earlier with Matt's question when he added in that he was looking to possibly throw in Bateman. I'm curious to see how he looks. He was, believe, second target or tied for the most targets in last week when he first
he
came
saw
back.
22% of the targets share.
So I'm interested to see how much more he gets targeted. And again, I've said all along, I thought Bateman coming could help out Hollywood Brown, who's already having a good season. I mean, just imagine if he wouldn't have dropped the 3 touchdowns he's dropped already. He'd be having an even better season. So I'm really curious to see how much that helps him out as well. As much as I love to take Cincy, I can't do it. I think Baltimore's the class of the AFC right now. I think they're going to win the game.
I also think that they end up getting the win here. Well, the Ravens are hoping for a win. If you're also hungry for a big win this week, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TPPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Before we jump into the next game, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Raiders, I don't know if you've seen this. I just have to mention it because I know how big Star Wars fans both of us are. See, Hayden Christensen's coming back to play Darth Vader?
Yeah, to play Anakin Skywalker, actually, in the Ahsoka Tano series. There are a lot of guesses that he's going to be a Force ghost because it should be taking place after he's dead.
Interesting. Very, very interesting to see that. I am very, very excited about it. It says that he was also apparently confirmed to be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well. So that is
maybe he probably won't be a Force ghost in that, though.
I would think no. All right.
That's more exciting than anything on the afternoon slate in the NFL. Because if you thought the morning slate was a little bit rough, holy buckets.
Yeah, that's why I threw it in here because just trying to pep us up a little bit more as we finish out these last couple games here. Excuse me. The 2-4 Philadelphia Eagles at the 4-2 Las Vegas Raiders. Aside from Hurts, are you playing anybody on Philly?
Well, given the state of the week, you're probably playing a few people. I am a little bullish on Dallas Goedert. He came off of the COVID list, should be good to go. They traded Zach Ertz. We've been waiting for this to happen. If not now, when? I think this is a decent matchup, and you'll probably see some from him. If I had to play a wide receiver, I'm taking Devonta Smith over Reagor and some of the other players. I might almost take Quez Watkins over Reagor right now. I like Rager's talent, but he's just not getting involved. The biggest question for me is Miles Sanders. You're probably rolling him out because it's a hideous week at running back, but he's another one like Myles Gaskin. His usage has been wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, it's been frustrating for a guy who I think he's played good and he's just not getting the run. I actually think I might even play Kenneth Gainwell a little bit because they could get behind in this game and he could get some catches and possibly do something again as bad as running back is. But I'm with you. Goddard, but you're going to have to watch. I mean, he's still on the COVID list, has not practiced. So I think that's probably bad news for him playing. But he's definitely a guy, maybe Devonta Smith. Just because I don't know that I'm – go ahead.
Goddard's off the COVID list.
Yeah, but I thought they said today. I heard that he was still sick and he hasn't practiced, so I don't know that
He's not on the injury report anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'd play him then. I think he's
what I saw this morning was he was wheels up.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah. Then Goddard. And then I would take a shot on Devonta Smith as well. Pretty good game last week. I think he can continue that rolling here against the Raiders. Josh Jacobs got going in week 6. Does he keep it going in week 7?
Yeah, I thought he would be a little slower last week against the Denver front. He was not. He looked really good. I think they seem to be a team. It's a 1-game sample size, so can't take anything for gospel. That change in play caller seems to have invigorated some of the players who have struggled this week. I even think Kenyon Drake may not be a bad option. There was a lot of comments made about he didn't have that many touches, and I'm going to be honest, that's because they didn't need him to have a lot of touches because they were beating the living daylights out of the Broncos. The Raiders look like they're kind of a motivated team. It does look like the off-season stuff or the off-field stuff has galvanized them, and Josh Jacobs looked really good last week. I have him as high-end RB2.
Yeah, I'm with you on Jacobs, and I agree on Kenyon Drake. I mean, this new coaching staff seems to be using him exactly what they paid him to come in and do. And so I think if he gets the receiving work and possibly gets a touchdown again, he's going to be well worth starting. Is that probably a high-end RB3? And again, with as bad as this week is, there's a lot of other players I'd rather take a shot on him than some of the other players that we've talked about. So I'm in on Kenyon Drake having a decent game here. I'm going to take the Eagles to get the upset here.
I'm taking the Raiders.
The 0-6 Detroit Lions at the 5-1 Los Angeles Rams. What do you expect from Jared Goff in his return to Los Angeles?
Jared Goff got called out by his current coach that he needs to play better, and he's going back to the coach and the place that kind of kicked him to the curb. Those could be motivating factors. However, he has not looked incredible this season. You're probably playing him in Superflex, but mid to low end QB2 is all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they can keep this competitive for a while, but this Rams offense is just so good, and the Detroit
Lions
Lions
keep it competitive until the kickoff, at least.
I'll be a little bit longer than that, but that defense is so bad. I think, we talked a lot about this with the rankings. Matt Stafford, I think, is going to go off in this one. So, we'll just lead right into it. Can the Lions slow them down at all? How high scoring do you think this gets for the Rams?
I don't think Stafford and McVay are the kind of Alabama-esque in that they would just like to continue to roll up the points. They're not trying to play for an AP poll slot, but I expect them to be in the mid to high 30s.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher than that. I think Stafford wants to pour it on a little bit. We talked about it. I think we have all their receiving weapons in Woods, Kupp, and Tyler Higbee ranked fairly high. So I'm expecting a lot of points here for the Rams, and I'm taking them to win.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams for sure.
The 1-5 Houston Texans at the 6-0 Arizona Cardinals. Aside from Brandon Cooks, are you putting anybody in your lineup from the Texans?
Well, if you were with us at the beginning of the show, I sadly have to play Davis Mills in one Superflex league, and I'm just hoping not to get negative points. I am not bullish on the Texans in any way in this game. We mentioned the DeAndre Hopkins thing. You know what we forgot? J.J. Watt.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I did forget all about J.J. Watt.
He's been playing pretty spectacularly of late.
Yeah, it's going to be a big revenge game, I think, for both of these guys. Again, I don't know how much they care because Bill O'Brien's not there anymore, really. And I think if we're being honest, he was the kind of real reason all that stuff happened. It had nothing to do with Culley or I don't even remember who, Caserio, the GM for the Texans now. Like, those guys weren't involved in any of this. So, but I do think they want to go back and rub it back into the McNairs a little bit. So I think they're going to both go out there and have really good games.
Watt had a pretty amicable split, you might say. That he asked to be released because he wanted to be able to play for somebody who was competitive. But yeah, I don't foresee the Texans doing a lot of good things in the desert.
No, and I'd even be hesitant to play Brandon Cooks. I think he's still flex worthy, but I'm not expecting much else from him there. What are you expecting from Zach Ertz in his Cardinals debut?
Yeah, no, you're pretty bullish on him. I just think there's so many options. They may try to feature him a little bit and get him going, but I'm not confident he ends up a top 12 tight end, even in the state we're in right now.
I'm leaning heavily on that because of how good Max Williams looked before he went out. And I think it's fair to say Zach Ertz is a better tight end. I don't think they trade for him for no reason. I think if they trade for him, it's because Cliff Kingsbury has an idea or has a certain role set aside for him. So I think he's going to be in for a big week, and I think that might even trend that way going forward. I think he's another big target that can move a little bit there in the middle of the field that can help out Kyler Murray, especially because he hasn't been running as much, and I think they're trying to find those guys that he can get the ball to quickly. I think Ertz can do that for him. So I'm
just afraid they may end up running more in this, because they have two good running backs, and this feels like the kind of game where you get a lead and then you're happy to kind of grind it down because you're not playing a great team.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's none of us are taking the Texans to win. This is I imagine clean
Cardinals
on the Cardinals.
Yeah.
This is actually the only game that Dennis put a pick in on because he's like, look, there's just no way. He's like, the rest of them, I'm not sure. This is Cardinals. So.
Although I will say, it could be a trap game because they have that Green Bay Packers Thursday night game, I'm pretty sure, coming right up.
Maybe, but even as a trap game, I think the Texans are still they're not good enough. They're not good enough.
You'd have to have the wood to build a trap for a trap.
Yeah,
game.
Exactly.
They're a few 2x4 short.
The 3-3 Chicago Bears at the 5-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I actually do think this can be an interesting game. Probably the best one in the second half here. The Philly game could be interesting though too. The Bucs secondary is the weak spot of this defense. So, are you expecting a big game from Justin Fields?
I think he has a chance to get some plays. It would be nice if he was able to connect with Fournette a little bit here. I think they're going to struggle to run, and they're going to struggle with him trying to run. So I'm hopeful that he'll be able to hit some things, but we just haven't seen a super robust passing game yet. I don't think he gets to 300 yards. I don't think he's throwing for 4 touchdowns, but maybe we'll see a little bit of improvement. It would be nice if he could improve a little bit on that completion percentage.
Yeah, I hate to answer. I was told to never answer a question with a question, but is Matt Nagy still calling plays?
I don't believe he is. I think Bill Lazor took that over a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. Is Matt Nagy still the head coach?
He is still the head coach.
Justin Fields is not going to have a big game. Matt Nagy sucks at his job. So, no, I hope that he does. I think Justin Fields could do a lot with his legs in this game, but I'm with you. I don't think he's getting 300 passing yards. I mean, Mooney, I know last I saw was questionable with the injury. We haven't seen Allen Robinson get going. I mean, I know that it's the weakness, and I'll be honest too, Fields hasn't looked great. He seems to be struggling a little bit in the pocket and making reads based on what everybody's saying. When you've got that good defensive front coming at you from Tampa Bay, that rushes your decisions a little bit more. So Fields is going to have to get the ball out quick. Again, I still think Khalil Herbert can be good in this game, though, because I think he can get enough dump-offs to make his game, make it a good game for him. Will the Buccaneers keep leaning on Leonard Fournette?
I think so. They seem to have gotten something going, and that's how you protect Brady a little bit. I did just look it up. Mooney's off the injury report. Allen Robinson's questionable with an ankle injury, so RIP. But Fournette is tracking to be a top 12 running back anyway. I think he's easily top 10 option this week.
Yeah, I mean, we've always seen back when he was with the Patriots that offense, when they had a good running game, they were a really good offense, and Fournette has been on fire, and I don't see that stopping here. I mean, the Bears have a good defensive front, but they've also got to worry about those wide receivers on the on Brown, Evans, Godwin, Gronk's coming back. So I think that Fournette's going to be able to get – and they've used Fournette a little bit in the receiving game as well. And I think the fact that they've started to lean heavier on him and only had Bernard out there a little bit, Rojo's really only coming in and spelling him, I think has been the biggest difference here. In the past couple of years, it almost seems like it's been a 50-50 split between those guys. Now they're just giving Fournette the ball, and it seems to be working in Fournette's favor. I'm going to take the Bears.
Good.
Justin Fields, baby, let's go.
After you just said that Matt
I'm gonna
Nagy
regret
is
that.
terrible, I'm thinking
Matt
about
Nagy is terrible, but you know who's not terrible? Justin M. effing Fields. That's who's not terrible. I'm all in, baby. All in. Only because I'm starting him in a ton of leagues, putting it out in the universe.
I'm
Help me,
starting
universe.
him in a few leagues
help
too.
me,
But...
help me, please help me. I need your help. The 2-4 Indianapolis Colts at the 2-3 San Francisco 49ers. What do we expect from Wentz in the passing game here for the Colts?
Yeah, it's been a little bit better the last couple of weeks. You know, we saw T.Y. Hilton come back and look decent last week. He's now questionable, and they said they don't expect him to play. Well, maybe that. Paris Campbell's now gone. That sort of puts more pressure on Michael Pittman. So hopefully they will get the ball to him a little bit. But, you know, they've also found great success, shock of all shocks, by running with Jonathan Taylor and by throwing Jonathan Taylor the ball. So maybe Frank Reich will keep that going.
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, just keep handing the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. That's all you've got to do. It'll help open things up for you. Throw him the ball a little bit too. Why not? He's been amazing for you. For the 49ers side, we do get Jimmy G back this week. How are you feeling about the 49ers passing attack?
Yeah, and Jimmy G's got it all to himself. Trey Lance has been ruled out, so not even special packages. I think that's probably good news for Deebo Samuel. Probably a little more conventional offense. We've seen the Colts defense is susceptible to both the run and the pass a little bit. Probably better news for San Francisco is that Elijah Mitchell seems like he's healthy, back in the rotation there. I like what they've been doing with Kyle Juszczyk. Maybe they'll give the ball to Trey Sermon a little bit. I think they're going to go back to trying to run and to make some efficient passing plays. And hopefully, you know, maybe we'll get Brandon Ayuk into the action since Kittle is on IR.
Let's hope. I mean, my goodness, the fall for Brandon Ayuk has been a little crazy this season. I am interested to see what Sermon can do. I mean, Mitchell has really been the guy. Coming out of the bye week, did Sermon do anything? I mean, he seems to just be in Shanahan's doghouse.
If the practice reports and the projections are any indication, Sermon is less of a factor now than he was
I just don't know what he did to upset Kyle so much, because my goodness, that poor guy, like, he was... Whew, I don't know. Someone needs to do some investigative journalism and find out what he said about Kyle Shanahan or what he did, because this is just ridiculous. I'm taking the 49ers. I think Jimmy G coming off a bye week. 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers really do need the win. They started 2-0. They've lost 3 straight. That being said, I'm taking the Colts.
All right, that was the Sunday night game. I apologize.
Yeah, that was
the
the
Monday
Sunday
night.
game.
Whew. Good thing I got some TV shows to catch up on, so I know what I'm going to be doing Sunday night. The Monday night football game, hey, you know, again, we talked about this off air the other day. It's keeping the wife happy weekend for me. So
Sunday night is where I usually throw my wife a bone to, because I've been down, you know, either at work or downstairs. We watch 90 Day Fiance the other way, and then when she goes to sleep, I watch the second half.
There you go. Yeah, I'm usually sleeping by the second half. I'm getting too old, so it's one of those things where last night was
almost every night game goes to overtime now.
I know.
Do you guys not have jobs? Oh wait, this is your job.
It's so bad last night, because that game went so fast last night, right? Just because how much the Broncos were running it and the Browns were running it. There really wasn't a whole lot of incompletions on either side.
No,
so
Denver only had like 3 possessions in the second half.
Yeah, I think Case Keenum only threw like 4 incompletions. Like, it was a very like fast-moving game. And I'm sitting there and like it was 2 minutes left in the third quarter. It was like 9:30 my time. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be able to go to bed by 10. And then here it is, 10:20. We're still in the fourth quarter. And I was like,
all the challenges.
I hate all of you.
You know what? This is the time we need to move to Hawaii, because that's,
I know,
you know,
we really do.
We both wake up at the crack of dawn, so I'm fine with the early start games. You're telling me a London game starts at 5:30? I'm awake anyway.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I woke up at 2:30 this morning and I was like, why do you do this to yourself? Just why? But it was such a good game. Like, even though it wasn't like a great game, there was still a shot for Denver at the end. And I was like, I don't want to go to sleep and then wake up and Denver won. That's going to ruin my day. So
it was never far apart. But also, if you're out there, this is our pitch to Metamucil for our new sponsorship.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All right, so let's go Monday Night Football game. 3-2, New Orleans Saints at the 2-4 Seattle Seahawks. Aside from Kamara, which Saint are you, or do you feel comfortable starting?
Given the state of quarterback and the predominance of superflex leagues, you could do worse than Jameis Winston, but I will say that with the caveat that we've had him either be really great for you or the pit of desolation. I feel like in this game, he's probably going to be decent. Receivers are more of a question. I would like to believe in Marquez Callaway, but I just don't know if there's consistent enough volume. But given the state of the week, I actually am throwing him into a couple deeply flex options and giving it a whirl.
As am I, hoping for the best there, but I mean, Kamara is clearly the only one you feel great about. I mean, I'm even starting Winston in a super flex league and just kind of hoping for the best here. The Seattle Seahawks have looked at Cam this week. Is Geno on the hot seat?
I think he is. And let me tell you, as somebody that blew a ton of fab to pick up Geno Smith, if they then go out and sign and start Cam Newton, who is pretty much predominantly still rostered in Superflex leagues, I might cry. I don't think Geno is the reason they lost that game, but he's probably not dynamic enough to win. My bigger question for Pete Carroll would be, do you think Cam Newton can get you there? But the fact that they're looking at other quarterbacks actually gives me pause that Russell Wilson is going to be on the longer end of the possible out window than the shorter end.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Cam. I feel like he just fits Carroll's old school kind of style of what he wants from his quarterback, running and all that. We'll see. I'd love to see Cam get back in as well. We talked a lot about when Russell Wilson had the injury too. I think Russ is not coming back. With the trade requests in the offseason, rumors that he's going to do it again I think Russ may just – I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't think they win many more games while Russ is out. I don't know why you force yourself to come back.
That's the thing. If you see a team that's – I think their bye week is either 8 or 9. If you see a team that's 2 or 5 or 2 and 6 – going into the bye, looking at the landscape of the NFC, maybe that finger has a setback.
I would not be surprised. With that being said, are you comfortable starting Lockett and Metcalf, or is it? And I guess,
I mean, Metcalf more so than Lockett. Lockett's been more up and down, but Geno does seem to be finding Metcalf, and I think those guys are too good, especially given the shallowness of every position this week to not play them. The Saints have a decent defense, but it feels like they're better at clamping down on the run than the pass. So and we talked about this even when Metcalf was going against Ramsey. All it takes is for him to get one play over the top and he returns at least, wide receiver 2 value for you.
And last little bit of news here. Alex Collins dealing with the groin injury. God. Are you worried at all? I know about him, and if you can, I don't know that he'd be available, but if Penny's on waivers, grab him because this might actually be the time that we see him get a shot at this backfield. I mean, he's designated to return from IR.
Yeah, it would probably be him or DJ Dallas. They were using DJ Dallas quite a bit with Collins anyway. I don't know. I don't feel great about Seattle's backfield against the Saints front anyway. So this would probably give me a huge amount of pause because what's going to happen is Penny's going to come off IR. DJ Dallas is going to be active. Collins is going to be active, and each of them is going to get 10 carries.
Yeah. I am taking the Saints. Never mind. I don't know why I thought about that so long. The Saints.
Seattle's home field advantage used to be one of the greatest in football. We saw that ebb down last year. They are actually 0-2 and haven't been particularly close at home. I'm taking the Saints as well.
All right, so that will do it for us today. Good luck to everybody in your matchups here in Week 7. Hopefully, you're able to survive the bye-apocalypse. It only gets easier from here, folks. I promise. It's not. We don't see it in any other bye week quite this bad. So we just got to survive Week 7. Matt, myself, and Dennis, I believe, will be back on Monday to recap everything we saw from Week 7. So everybody enjoy the weekends, enjoy the games.